Hello, viewers of Night of the Batman. I am your host, Alex Ramsey, and I'm here today to review Batman, Superman, Public Enemies. Okay, before I get started, I'll just give you some brief facts about why this book got started, the stuff behind it, and why the movie, like the stuff surrounding the movie, and all that good stuff. So, Superman Batman was a monthly comic book series published by DC that featured the publisher's two most popular characters, Batman and Superman. Superman Batman premiered in August 2003 and was an update of the previous series, World's Finest Comics, headed by Jeff Loeb, in which Superman and Batman regularly joined forces. In 2002, the Batman-Superman movie was released on DVD. This was actually 3 episodes from the World's Finest story arc of Season 2 of Superman the Animated Series, combined into feature length. The same creative team who worked on the Superman Batman movie also worked on the World's Finest combined episode Superman the Animated Series film, which featured both Batman and Superman teaming up against Lex and Joker, respectively. Okay, now that I gave you a brief history lesson, I'll go straight into, since I don't want to spoil it too much, I'll just go straight into the pros and cons, stuff like that. Okay, I guess I'll start out with the pros. The art style is very much in line with that of the comic. They got that right. I could see why they chose it from just like an artistic standpoint, because the art in the actual book is very cartoony looking. It looks like it'd be very good if it was adapted into animation. So I can see why they chose it in that way. Sorry, one second. Another plus is that they bring back the original voice cast who played Batman, Superman, Lex Luthor, which is a nice touch. Not having the scene, there's a scene in the book that's not in the movie, which is actually a plus for this. Having seen a Batman almost allowing Superman gets into, at this point, Lex is the president and Superman basically breaks in, but he's in disguise as Captain Marvel, and he starts strangling Lex, and Batman almost allows Superman to kill Lex, and that's completely out of character for Batman to do. Jeff Loeb, from what I know of him, sometimes suffers from doing this, like having characters sort of seem out of character by doing weird things like that. This was a problem in the book that's actually fixed in the movie. The whole plot sort of centers around this meteor that's hurling towards Earth, and Luthor pointing the blame to Superman, saying that the kryptonite meteor that's heading towards them is in fact the cause of him, like he's some sort of magnet to it or something, which really doesn't make any sense when you really think about it, which gets all the superheroes after him. Anyway, I like that they gave a more valid reason of Superman, like the superheroes coming after him. Lex frames him to make it look like Metallo was killed by him. Superman killed Metallo, sorry. I think that works a lot more than the book's explanation, where it's just because of the money Luthor offered, plus he supposedly caused the meteor to come. Another thing, just a side note, when I first started really getting into comics, this was one of the first things I read was Public Enemies, and I really liked it. Looking back at it now, it's okay, but I'll get to that more in the cons. Actually, I have one more pro. In the movie and also in the book, it makes frequent comic book references which are fun for fans and don't really distract from the plot or confuse newcomers. Okay, I'm going to go to the cons now. I think this is true for both the comic and the movie. They both suffer from being just a giant action picture with no real substance or character development at all. The book has a little bit more. They have little side plots, like trying to think of one off the top of my head, like the future Superman coming back and beating them up, trying to stop something from happening. I guess Superman almost killing Lex. I guess that's the big catastrophe. I'm not sure. And also has other interesting subplots, like the book has somehow Batman's not sure anymore if Joe Chill was really the one who killed his parents, which doesn't really, or who's actually behind the killing of the Waynes. So that's really interesting, and Lex supposedly knows who did it. That was really interesting. My main problem with it is that when the producers and the director of this movie were making it, they decided to drop those points because they wanted this to be a standalone movie. Now I can argue that they could have still done the whole thing with Batman and him not being sure who actually was behind the murder of his parents. I thought that could have still been included in there and not really answered. Another thing, I really don't know why they did this, because as far as I can tell, the ending in the original book doesn't really, well, it slightly does mention Infinite Crisis, but not that much to where it's really distracting. It's just sort of like a subtle sort of reference. So at the end of the book, Lex Luthor, like his whole tower, his whole place of operations has been destroyed. He's all beat up. He's lost his fortune. Everyone knows he's a villain now. He's no longer president. He has nothing. And so he comes back all crazy with the glowing green eyes since he's been injecting himself with kryptonite through the whole thing. He's like there'll be a crisis or something like that. It's a really cool and unsettling scene. The movie does something a little different. He goes on this, Lex is being put in the back of a police car, and he starts ranting about God bless America, God bless me, all this stupid stuff, and it's a really weak ending than what the comics originally had. I thought that they could have at least included that, because that was a really cool ending. That was part of one of my favorite parts of the book, and that made that a really cool book for me, was the ending. Another problem I had with the movie is that the film is similar to others in the DC Universe line, and that it inserts cuss words and innuendo into a story to make it adult, which most of the time comes across as forced. They have one scene in particular with the newscaster or whatever he is, where he talks about putting like a poker at an inappropriate place, but it's stuff like that gets on my nerves, because if the original story, I know you're trying to spring for like a PG-13 rating, but it feels really forced when you just throw that stuff in there. I don't even know why it has to be PG-13. I guess to bring in more teenagers, but I'm gonna just throw this out there. Most of the people that are buying this aren't just your run-of-the-mill teenagers. Most of the people that buy this probably know something about the comic books and are fans of the comic books. I doubt just some random person that doesn't know all that much about comic books or Bruce Timm or the DC animated universe is going to pick these up. So I don't know why they do that. I guess it's to sort of appeal to teenagers more, but really the only people that are picking these up are most of the time people that either know the comics or know a lot about different storylines, stuff like that. I don't know why they chose this story to adapt. Out of all the choices that they had, why this one? The only reason I could possibly see was it's Batman and Superman, and that would bring some people in, but just looking at the comic and looking it over, most of the stuff in there you would have to read the other comics to understand, and most of the stuff that's good in there is stuff that can't be done in a, well, it can be done in a film, but it wouldn't be as cool as it if it was done in a film. Like the little word boxes that reveal the opposing viewpoints of Batman and Superman. and just their different thoughts on things. That's one of the coolest parts of the book, I think. That's one of my favorite parts, just seeing their opposing viewpoints and how different they really are. That's one of the best parts, and that's dropped from the film. So is a lot of the other cool plot points because they wanted this to stand alone. So what we're left with is ultimately not that good. Trying to think of other stuff. This story's really mediocre too. Once you take all that stuff out, it's a mediocre story just in general. Like, it's not good, it's not bad, it's just kind of eh. But the movie is it's bad. They took out a bunch of stuff and it's really bad. Another interesting fact is that Allison Mack, who played Chloe Sullivan, plays Power Girl in this. I don't know why they chose her, but they did, so that's kind of cool. I'm trying to think of something else to talk about. Yeah, but with all that stuff they took out, and most of the stuff that's good in this is just either word balloons that tell the opposing viewpoints or flashbacks or stuff that's in there that they couldn't put in the film, I guess, because they wanted to stand alone just like all the other ones, which ultimately makes it suffer, because most of those plot points in there that they had to take out because they weren't interesting were key points that made this really cool and a better story. It's still not great. The comic books, I would say, is better than the movie, which is most likely the case. Yeah, I was really disappointed with this movie. I guess if I were to rate it, it would be probably out of 5. It would probably be like a 1.5 out of 5. This movie ultimately suffers from. It's just not a good movie to adapt. That's the problem. They should have picked something else. Most of the stuff that's good and works in here is stuff you can't really do on screen, and most of the stuff you have to read the rest of the comics, and it can't really. If you take those elements out like they did, it sort of suffers. Story suffers, and from what the scenes they took out, it makes it a worse movie. This movie's okay. It's not terrible, but it's not good or bad. It's just sort of, it's okay. I wouldn't advise you, if you're interested in getting into the DC animated universe, to go out and get this. It's not a good movie. It's actually pretty bad, if I'm being honest. It's a bad movie. So I guess that's about it. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. Send me your feedback. Let me know if you want me to review anything. I'd be happy to. Recommendations, anything. I'm open. Just send it to me on YouTube. So hopefully soon I'll have a commentary up, and I should have a guest star that'll be on. So that should be interesting once we get that worked out. So stay tuned for that. Okay. See you guys around.